Hey there, Virgo, Sun, Moon, and Rising. It's time to have a look and see just what is going on when it comes to your month of January 2022 and your monthly astrology. And just a quick heads up, if you happen to be watching this prior to the 15th of December, you may want to check out my special 2-hour webinar all about the 2022 major astrological and energetic shifts that we're all going to be going through. And you can sign up for that at my website, integrativemysticism.com. It's the same place you would go to get a session with me. And even if you can't make it, I will also have replays available for those who purchase and replays available for purchase following the event. So what is going on when it comes to your astrology after all? I do want to make a quick reminder that the vast majority of January, all the way through the 29th, we still have Venus retrograde in Capricorn. And I know we've spoken about that already in the December monthlies, as well as Venus retrograde. I made a special video for that all by itself, but I do want to also leave some reminders here for those that may be new. So Venus retrograde in Capricorn is putting all of that focus, all of that emphasis or the pressure on your fifth house of romance, creativity, pleasure, as well as recreation and your relationships with your kids or parenthood. And with Venus retrograde, what we are all going to be going through is essentially working through what we would call the shadow side of enmeshment, or anything where we have a lot of involvement or a lot of entanglements or crossovers in situations that could be uncomfortable. And Venus retrograde is always putting pressure on cracks that are already there. It's not making new problems, but it's putting emphasis on dealing with the elephant in the room. And some key words to keep in mind for Venus retrograde are volatility, insecurity, escapism, and instability. And there could be some issues that come up in this area of your life throughout January, especially when it comes to handling creative matters or romantic relationships or your relationships with your kids, where issues of escapism or insecurity or volatility and things like that have to be confronted so that they can, of course, be revealed and then released in the interest of a sustainable, harmonious solution and a solved future, right? Improvement of everything that is going on there. However, it can be a bit touchy. Some people handle this with more assertiveness than others do. You may even encounter some defensiveness or some preservation tactics when these things come up. So make sure you are handling things with diligence, a bit of patience, but also at the same time a focus on solutions. Now, the first half of the month, we've got the sun in this area of your chart as well. So really taking the edge off of the Venus retrograde experience, especially in the first 3 weeks. And with the sun in Capricorn, we are bringing attention, enhancement, and support to that fifth house of romance, relationships, creativity, recreation, and parenthood. And so this is also going to be drawing in a lot of help to bring improvements to communication styles, new opportunities, maybe to start experimenting with new experiences, new dynamics that we get to play with, whether it's with new people, for those of you that are single or available, or those of you who are looking for a venue or maybe an opportunity for collaborations with recreational, creative projects or pursuits. This is here for you. And we're also working on the improvement focus of the sun, really helping to create healthier, stronger bonds with all people here, whether it is romantic partners, current or new, again, collaborators, or our kids. And so we're still seeing a lot of help coming in. It's all going in the interest of making the best relationships and the best experiences possible. We also have Mercury in Aquarius, the planet of communications, haste, and speed, direct in the first half of the month in your sixth house of work, your reputation, your schedule, your teams, and even the client and customer bases that you have. And with Mercury in Aquarius, you're going to be finding that a lot of you Virgo people are getting very, very popular. Your name is carrying farther and wider, not only by word of mouth, but even a lot of your clients and customers are doing a lot of the hitting the pavement for you. You are actually doing very, very well for yourself. In fact, with Mercury in the 6th house, we're also speeding up the opportunities for you to maybe manifest or pull into your life easier ways to make money. You're actually generating wealth and revenue at a much faster rate. And you are also finding that a transition that you are trying to make, either in your field or on the job, or even with your physical health, is also getting the boost in the first half of this month. We also have Mars, the planet of action, passion, energy, that driving force and obstacle clearing force in your 4th house, Sagittarius, for the first half of the month. And with Mars in the 4th house, it's a time for some major house cleaning, getting the house in order in all respects, sometimes literal, sometimes metaphoric. With Mars in the 4th house, it's a great time to start getting into shape when it comes to maybe your household economy, knocking down emotional and social walls, especially when it comes to relatives, being able to conquer old challenges or maybe even, let's just say dark clouds hanging overhead in family business, old family business, current family business. And this is also a wonderful time for a lot of you who want to actually really accelerate progress towards something you are trying to build, purchase, or create for your home or for your family, something that you want to hurry into a positive fruition, right? Something that you want to move yourself and all involved into a new sense of security and a higher quality of life. Just be careful with Mars in Sagittarius. It can also be a time for you Virgo people where tensions could run pretty high in family dynamics, family situations. Sometimes what can happen is a lot of butting of heads can occur. People can be a little bit more touchy, have chips on their shoulder, and we want to make sure that we are very much like Venus retrograde, focusing on constructive solutions and not just processing things to death and then never getting anywhere. We also have a new moon in Capricorn in that 5th house of love, romance, creativity, recreation, and parenthood on the 2nd of January. And this really sets the tone for the 2nd through the 17th of the month. Now, a new moon is all about new beginnings, new cycles, and seed planting. And a lot of you Virgo people are going to be starting a whole new chapter in many different respects as it relates to your 5th house. A lot of you may find that, yes, a new relationship story is starting, and this could be occurring even with those of you who are in committed relationships right now, or possibly those of you who are maybe starting to see somebody new, or you meet somebody new, or it's somebody recent. Just keep in mind with Venus retrograde, we want to make sure that we pace this properly, that we don't rush or create any whirlwind romances or bring in anything from old relationships into this current one or into this new one, so that we can actually have a fresh start with a truly clean slate. And this can also be really good news for those of you looking to maybe make some kind of big launch or give birth to a new creation, or maybe even expand on your family if you've been looking on try to conceive, or maybe you are working on birthing some kind of business project or creative project. It's a wonderful time. Just again, do your due diligence around that Venus retrograde energy in the beginning of the month. The second half of the month, we've got the sun in Aquarius, in your 6th house of your work, your reputation, your schedule, the teams that you're on, as well as your client and customer base. And this is bringing attention, enhancement, and support. And you're going to be noticing a marked improvement in the atmosphere or in the environment around the office or around your teams, around your field. The sensibility, or let's just say the zeitgeist around your vocation is starting to evolve in a way that is much more complementary to you, what your priorities are, what your big goals are, and what you feel at your core is actually going to be the best for all concerned. This could be healing a lot of professional relationships, possibly even healing your relationship with your job or with your vocation if you've been feeling like you've been at odds with, the work you do for the world, what you put out there. And a lot of you are also going to find that the sun is boosting the popularity you're also getting from Mercury in this part of your chart. The second half of the month also has Mars moving into Capricorn, which is that fifth house of love, romance, and creativity, and recreation, and parenthood. And so that action, passion, driving force, and obstacle clearing energy is now working on your relationships with you. This can actually be a time from the end of this month, the second half of this month, going into February, where we have deeply stimulating conversations and even the birth of a new way of expressing love, loyalty, and affection be born in relationships across the board. Because with Mars, we are working on developing stronger friendship bonds with our kids, with our collaborators, and with romantic partners. Because remember, it's the friendship bond that actually makes something last a long time. And this could actually be adding a bit of spice to a romantic relationship, adding a bit more ambition to a collaboration or an alliance, and even helping to mature and secure a stronger social relationship or open door policy with one of our kids, or both or all of our kids. Just keep in mind, with the obstacle clearing force, we're also tearing down walls. And so people can sometimes get a little bit uncomfortable because walls are often created through defense mechanisms. And there could be some harsh collisions that occur every once in a while. Now, we do have Mercury retrograde occurring this month. In the second half of the month, Mercury turns retrograde on the 14th. And Mercury retrograde's acting kind of funny in January. We've got Mercury retrograde in Aquarius the 14th through the 25th, and then we have Mercury retrograding back into Capricorn and remaining retrograde in Capricorn until we get to the very beginning of February. So with Mercury retrograde in Aquarius between the 14th and the 25th, this is your sixth house of work, reputation, schedule, teams, client and customer base, and all of that good stuff. When we have Mercury retrograde here, you're going to be noticing that there's a bit of a shakedown, shake-up kind of feel going on at the office, or when it comes to your field, or maybe even the work culture, or the market culture, the industry culture around you. And with Mercury retrograde, I feel that this is actually something that is undoing a lot of standards or policies or beliefs that really don't hold up very well. Or it could be agreements, arrangements, plans, or standards that were set in place that ultimately never should. This can create for a chaotic second half of the month, especially if you're dealing with people that were okay with the unhealthy old way, not necessarily liking the way things are shaping up. But for a lot of you, this is also returning things to you that you did not get a chance to flesh out because of the old structures that were there. This will come with a bit of confusion. You will need to dot your I's and cross your T's, double check everything, because a lot of people are not going to necessarily going to be the best focused or the best at stating their needs. But I feel like this is actually a really cool reformation going on in your work life. When Mercury retrograde slides back into Capricorn, now we're getting a chance to do a lot of revisits, revisions, and rearrangements with that love, romance, recreation, creativity, and our relationships with our kids. And we're getting a chance to undo a lot of maybe mistakes, a lot of bad calls, or even a lot of marks that have been left on us or maybe our relationships or our collaborations or our relationships with our kids from the past. This can be a very healing but also very sensitive time. And so, the people who are going to get the best out of this are the ones who participate in the process. It's also a wonderful time for those of you who are looking to revive things in either the history of your romantic relationship, bring something back that really brought you and your partner joy, or maybe even revisit an old flame, an old crush. There may be something going on there. Just again, be careful not to take things too seriously and get all psychological during a Venus retrograde or a Mercury retrograde for that matter. This may just be putting you back in touch with something reminiscent of an old relationship chemistry that could still actually be very stimulating to you. This is also a great time for a lot of you to get a chance to do a lot of do-overs, both in romantic relationships and in your relationships with your kids. And this is going to be from the 25th again to the very beginning of February. Finally, we also have a full moon in Cancer, which is in your 11th house of friendships and social networking, anything to do with your platonic support system. And with a full moon in Cancer, we see culminations, climaxes, and transitions. And this might be a time where some social pruning occurs between the 17th of January and again, the very beginning of February. Some of you may find that a friendship, either with one person or maybe an association with a certain clique or a certain group or a certain corner of your social life, just needs to go. And this is mostly happening on the platonic side of things. So for the most part, I think it's going to be, the guys, the girls, somebody's probably going to, do the last straw kind of thing during this time. Most of the time, I find that this is not a surprise. A lot of you Virgo people may already be like, I already knew he was on his way out, or I already knew that I needed to kick her out. And this is probably something that is going to be enacted or brought to fruition in the second half of the month. But it is a necessary social prune. So that is what I've got for you, Virgo. I hope you enjoyed it. If you did, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe. I appreciate it. And should you ever want to get a session with me, go on ahead to my website. It's integrativemysticism.com.